Welcome to JA Careers in Communication. This is a program that JA of South Dakota wrote in conjunction with JA USA. They've given us special permission to take elements of the JA Career Success Legacy program along with their JA It's My Job program. We worked with some local volunteers and teachers, and we've created this 3-session program. So thank you to JA USA for allowing us to do that. The heart of this program is really to talk to students about soft skills and how that soft skills not just affect them today, but also in their future. We're going to look at 3 specific soft skills, which are communication, problem solving, and teamwork collaboration. And then in the 3rd visit, we're going to actually take all of those elements and put them together. We're going to talk about the process of getting a job and really connecting how a lot of times soft skills can help you get a job, but it's also what often helps us get promoted and sometimes even fired. So it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to end with some mock interviews, and I just really love this program. So I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. The first session, you're going to notice that you have a packet of materials. So you want to make sure you have that. The first session specifically, you're going to want your table tents as well as the scenario worksheets. So the table tents you're just going to pass out. You're going to have the students fold them in half, have them write their name on it, and then they can just set it on the edge of their desk, and they so that you can start using their names throughout your sessions. You're going to notice that in my training today, I'm going to go really high level, but there's a lot of more details, talking prompts, instructions, etc. in the guidebook. So make sure you take a look at the guidebook and highlight it and write notes in the margins and all the things. So really what you want to do is the first thing is just to introduce yourself. And so talk a little bit about who you are, your industry, your career, your education path, how you got where you are. And before you go in, I really encourage you to just think back to high school too. What are some connections you can make with the students? Did you have a part-time job? Did you have summer employment? Were you in extracurriculars? Like, think of just some of the fun ways that you can provide connections and rapport with the students as well. The first session is all about communication, and you're going to notice there's a couple sub topics underneath this umbrella. So the first portion is all about digital communication, specifically thinking about cell phones. So some teachers, some volunteers like to work with their classroom teacher to see if they can actually allow the students to pull out their cell phones. So again, some classes or schools have policies against that, so ask first. But it can be a fun little icebreaker to have them pull them out and have them, what are the top 3 apps you use? How much usage have you had? One nice thing is to say, if you brought it to class today, please feel free to pull it out so that if for some reason a student doesn't have a cell phone, they're not ostracized and really, pointed out that they don't have one. So what you're going to do is you are going to create just a brainstorm on the board. So as quickly as you can write, have students shout out all the different things that they can do with a cell phone. And once they do that, take a step back and say, okay, of these things, which ones do you think are appropriate for the workplace and which ones are not? So have them walk through that just a little bit, and then you're going to actually split the students into small groups. And so you can have up to 6 groups. And I would ask the classroom teacher to help you place the kids in groups because they're going to know which ones work well together and which ones might not. So sometimes they're already potted up in their classes, but if not, ask the teacher. You're going to notice that every group has a different scenario. And in your guidebook, you have all the scenarios as well as talking prompts to go with them. So you're going to let the students work in their groups to fill out the top portion of this worksheet. The bottom portion is just the other scenarios that the other groups are going to have. So it's extra information that they can use to kind of jot down notes as they're doing presentations. You're only going to give them about 2 minutes to brainstorm their scenario. They're honestly pretty simple, and it doesn't take them very long to get that. Then what you're going to do is actually have them present. So you are going to have them share the scenario as well as a couple of the highlights from their brainstorm. You're going to notice in the guidebook, we have provided some talking prompts, and you might have some of your own as well. So you do not have to go through every single prompt on here, but read through them and highlight some of them that you think is important to bring out. If they don't showcase something in their presentation, feel free to add to it. Also, I found when we did this that sometimes the groups were similar in nature. So some of their answers are going to build on each other. And once in a while, there was a group that had something else to add to another group's as well. You're going to notice we have a couple prompts that I actually made blue because I really liked them a lot. I think one of the most important elements of this conversation is why companies sometimes have cell phone policies. Usually it's not just because they want to be mean. It's usually because of a reason. So that first scenario, please make sure to really point out. Sometimes it's because of safety or productivity or customer service positions. Down in scenario 5, again, what if you were distracted by your cell phone? Sometimes they have policies because something could happen. What if you worked on a construction site and you were operating heavy machinery, right? What if you were a teacher's aide in a group of 4-year-olds? Like something could really quickly happen if you were distracted on your cell phone. So again, this is really to get them to kind of think about the why and that broader picture of how to use cell phones appropriately in the right setting. Then what you're going to notice is that we do have a few transition topics. So we realize that there are like kind of digital versus, verbal communication. There's a little bit of a bridge there. So we're trying to bridge that. And one of the fun ways to do that is to really ask them to think about, have they ever had a miscommunication in a text or a social media situation? And a lot of times they have. And if you ask them, why would that be? A lot of times it's because you didn't hear the tone of voice or you didn't see the body language, etc. And so it's kind of fun to ask them if they have any examples they'd like to share that are school appropriate. But they can be kind of funny to hear. So then you're going to go into the conversation. The second portion is all about communication in the workplace. And so this is where you're going to transition to that verbal communication. So we want them just to think about what are some of the different things that they hear often in businesses and how what we say can be either professional or sometimes unprofessional in the way we say it. So, for example, you could say, "May I help you?" or "What do you want?" Like you're essentially saying the same thing, but very, very differently. So, if you have time, another fun little icebreaker to get them to do is to split them up into small groups of 2 or 3 and just have them think about a sentence or a phrase that they could say in different ways to have a different outcome. So, you're saying the same thing, but you're getting a different outcome. So, for example, you could say, "Oh, I have to babysit tonight." Or you could say, "I get to babysit tonight." Like either way, you're babysitting tonight, but one is a very negative connotation and the other one is a very positive one. So we just want to get them to think about how tone and body language affects it. And you'll notice that there is some talking prompts for voice modulation, for body language, as well as conflict management. Because again, a lot of times we can't control what comes at us, but the way in which we respond is important. So you can diffuse a lot of situations by the way in which you respond. And so we want to talk a little bit about conflict management. The final section for this is about personal brand. And what we really want to get the students to realize and to think about is that everybody has a personal brand, just like every company has a personal brand. And what we do every day, our habits we have, all of the different elements that we do today is building that brand. So in order to showcase that in an interactive way, we just want to do a quick sit stand activity. So you want all the students to start by sitting and you're just going to throw out 2 different things. And if they would, for example, stand if you choose Nike and stay seated if you would choose Adidas. Have them make their choices and then just very quickly have a couple of them share why or what were the first words that came to mind when they heard Nike or Adidas. And then go to the next one, have them all sit again, start fresh, and then throw out 2 more things. So, Coke versus Mountain Dew, Android products versus Apple products. You can pick anything. We've given you some samples. The whole idea is to get them to think about companies have brands, and sometimes it's because of an experience that we've had in which we have that thought of that brand, right? And so we want them to think about how we each have our own personal brand as well, and all the different things like soft skills, our reputation, et cetera, builds that brand. One of the things I really like to challenge students to think about is, what are the first words that people think when they walk in the room? So what is the first things the teachers think when they walk in the room? Are they thinking, great student, always on time, participates, or never gets their work done on time, etc.? What is the first thing your friend's parent thinks when you walk in the door? What was the first thing your group members thought when you got put in their group? So think about those things, and hopefully there's a lot of positive things that they're thinking, but if there are some negative things, it's never too late to start working on that personal brand, and they can start thinking about some of those things that maybe they want to make more positive. And in the next session, they're going to get to actually do a self-assessment regarding soft skills, and that will really help them maybe identify some points that they can do better in the future as well. So it's kind of a fun way to get them thinking about personal brand, and we want to build on this concept in each of the next sections. So you're going to see that we bring it back to thinking about personal brand as we go. You'll notice on page 7, we do have just some summary and review tips to kind of wrap it all up. So again, watch your time and, allow for some of that recap, allow for some Q&A if the students have anything top of mind that they'd like to ask you. The next session is going to be specifically talking about teamwork and collaboration, as well as problem solving. So again, we're going to focus more on soft skills, and they're going to get to do a soft skills assessment. So we'll see you in session 2.